I have to say it's pretty funny. Like
Yeah,
you watch some of the stuff, George and you post. It's
yeah,
like, one day I'm like, oh yeah, definitely I can follow how that's happening.
yeah,
And the next day it's just like, what? How the hell did that happen?
yeah, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, one of the things I used to kind of struggled a little bit with was, and now everybody suffers with it, I think. So I used to go if only obviously trying to trade the kind of the bigger moves for what I teach. Obviously, there's little lower time frame stuff that you can do as well, but I don't really do that or push it myself as such. I just kind of show what's available. And what I used to do if I went like a week or two without anything being visible to my eye, I used to think, fucking hell, like have I forgotten how to do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that can be, do you know, if you're not like catching something on the regular, you can start to feel like, oh, maybe this isn't working, maybe it don't work anymore, or things like that. But and then like within a few days, a banger would appear, do you know, and then you start to realize that just got to be patient, wait for the good setups,
Yeah.
and once you sort of like can get that sort of mindset into your head, then things start just obviously the pressure drops and things start falling into place a bit better, and you know,
Yeah.
so
I think being brutally honest with myself, there's definitely been a lot of trying to force it or trying to
yeah,
make it happen, trying to find something that's not actually there.
yeah.
And you kind of push it and you're like, ah, well, maybe just, and then it totally that's your stop loss within a few seconds. It's like, nah, that was a stupid idea.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all right.
it happens. Yeah, it happens to everyone, mate. We've all
Yeah.
done it. Do you know, it's just sorry, just read this message, mate. Hey, Steve-O, mate. Yeah, best place to not be poor is in this chat in this one, mate. Um, I'll kind of jump into summer. I can't remember what I was looking at this week. So, well, this week. Sorry, it's not the new week yet. Um, I definitely want oil. I know that much. Kind of on GBP USD, I'm kind of torn in both directions because now I think I spoke about this did I do it last week or the week before, whatever it was. I'm kind of torn on the structure on this 15 on GBP USD. So I'll just quickly talk about this quicker, then I'll sharply move on. Um, so at the minute, I'm currently unsure on whether we've got a couple of different structures, couple possible options going on. Sorry, I'll turn one blue and one orange so you can see the difference. So obviously from this push, now we've tapped in low into this area here, like obviously where the orange box is. We've filled stuff going on in there, and we've possibly the reason I've got the two structures so it's possibly this move that's going on. So we have a high there, we put in a low, we tap into the area that I was looking to tap into. We've broken lower time frame structures in this by taking up here, but then obviously we take the low again. So I am kind of looking at another possible 4 hour swing or my higher time frame swing to take it up higher. I'd love for it to come into this sort of where I've got this imbalance. Whether it does or not is a completely different story. So ideally, we would get another long high time frame swing. Whether that happens and it's not going up here is a different story. We've had some form of breaks to kind of show us that we may be doing that. And this, obviously, I've got these marks to high and low from the previous lives. I'm trying to avoid talking about that a little bit. Just let me put my coffee down so I can focus a bit better. So, if this is why I'm torn. There's a low here. That's a possible pullback on the 15, and then we put the high in. So we've had a 15-minute break possible. We end up tapping into the zone. So you'd be well within your rights to go somewhere in this sort of higher zone here is your 15-minute change of character box because obviously it's changed character to take that low. and it's possibly pulled back, and then we've possibly got more lower time frame breaks here if this is the one and not the 15. So, and maybe we've just come mitigated it, and now we've had a final lower time frame change of character, and we're going to start selling off to make a new low on this orange structure. Yeah, because it's we got a high, a low, possible change under that, like what I said a minute ago. So we pull back. We don't take this high here. We don't take that, so that's still intact. We've had slight signals of bearishness because obviously it's mitigated it, and then it's made a new low. So we've got a high, low, lower high, lower low, and we're kind of in between this sort of section here, between me thinking we're getting a new high, and we've actually shown signals to sell off again as well. So I'm 50-50 on which way this is actually going to go. Ideally, now I think I was trying to buy it from here. I'm sure I caught something in this a while back, but I think that's spread our time, so I think I had to close it early. Maybe not that one. Maybe it was up here instead, actually. I caught one anyway, and it was got to spread hour, and I had to close it, and I think it'll be this one, actually. Yeah, but sorry, it's that one there, which is unfortunate because it went 95 in the end. And then the second entry just missed my entry, actually, sorry. So yeah, I caught that one late on, and then spread hours there. So I had to close it. It wasn't far enough away for me to be convinced I was safe. Um, a little bit off subject, a little bit off topic anyway, but yeah, so I was trying to buy it up, thinking that it would at least come. I was kind of hoping that this touch here was going to come higher as well. So this was why I was a bit more concerned with buys. So there's a lot going on in this, so I'm going to delete some stuff anyway. So I've just drawn this orange box here for the purpose of the cells. This I had these couple of zones marked from here, so I thought if it taps into them and then starts showing signs of bearishness, then I'd have been well happy. So it was just shy, and then it's shown them signs that I was looking for, literally only a couple of pips short, which kind of doesn't mean it. I mean, it's just confusion for me, really. 5 pips short of where I actually wanted it to tap into. Now, 5 pips isn't a lot, and it's just a good chance that the zone where it's actually come from, this wick here. Obviously, it's wick on the 4 out will be completely different on the lower time frame. There's a chance I was just wrong and it's gone from lower. It's tapped into whatever this is here. So there's a little bit of imbalance created. Probably some form of liquidity in that as well. So there might be. Is that right? A good touch there, so it wants to be a touch higher. What's this middle touch? Middle touch is a touch short, so I don't think I'd have been too happy with that myself anyway. But on a different feed, that might be bang on. It's it's what we've got in front of us that we can do. It's like I say, don't think I'd have counted that. It's only a pipette. So yeah, on a different feed, that might be 3 perfect touches. It'll be worth checking out on a different feed. Um, it's close enough for me to then suggest that I would go and look on another feed anyway. So yeah, but what that kind of indicates is that if now I've come on the 2 hour, I'll come on the lower so we can see some imbalance there. 15 looks great on the 15. So what I've just shown you there is if that's bang on a different feed, that would indicate that obviously liquidity has indicated of a good potential area that price should mitigate. So just going to want to extend that. So good looking liquidity line. We get a sweep of the liquidity. Obviously, it taps into the thing slightly above it, possibly, and then obviously it starts breaking to the lows to the downside, meaning that this order block here, like with that imbalance left in there, is a great area that price would come to mitigate, and that's what it's done. Now, obviously, I've overlooked that slightly, and as you can see, it taps into it perfect. And then what we have had is I'm just going to dull these 15-minute structures so not as bright and in the way. Obviously, leading up to the touch into that zone, we get some form of structures going on. Now, obviously, we get a big push up to here. And it's a big push up because obviously this is the last swing before it turns bullish again. So this part is just get the kind of this part of the chart is bearish on this structure. As you can see, the faint orange lines there. Then obviously we put a low in. This is the last high before the main low is put in, and then it's taken around about here. Now I wouldn't class this as a pullback. It's not good enough. So obviously I've drawn it way up here to a high, then another significant pullback, and then the high goes in. So price tapped into that POI we've just looked at with liquidity and the sweep. It then eventually comes and takes that low. So that'll be green line. I'll draw another arrow actually so we can kind of see. So we get a break of structure there. Change of character, sorry, for those that are using the actual terminology. Just do that again. That one. Yeah, so we get a break of structure there, and then the idea is if it's going to make a new low after that, because that's technically a good valid trade. So we had the 15-minute bullish for here. We get a change of character, which means that we draw the orange box. All we're kind of looking for after that is a tap into it, then a lower time frame break, which we have just marked. So in theory, in that zone there, which I think it's done now anyway, I did have a couple of imbalances in here marked. Well, as soon as that breaks that low after tapping into the first 15-minute change of character, that's when we mark, like I said, we mark the box, and then as soon as it taps into that, would kind of, if we get another break, we're then looking for an entry. So entry would be drawn. No, I don't want to leave that. So as soon as that breaks there, it's kind of when I would say we look for an entry, which means that these couple of imbalances I've got marked, I should have set an entry on that, and I don't know why I didn't. I, I think because I'm 50-50 and I was kind of expecting it to go a touch higher, I was kind of expecting it to not play out, even though it's met the rules. So maybe you can all just call me gay. I don't know. But what I'll do is I'll just show you them imbalances. So you can see what price is actually tapping into and things like that. So obviously we're trying to keep things real nice and tight here in supply and demand. So as you see, we get a bit of imbalance created here. There's possibly some at here, possibly some a touch higher. You know, there's a fair few to choose from. Obviously, there's this one here lower than what it's actually tapped into. But as you can see, it fills this imbalance. Yeah. And then obviously this is like the order block that creates it kind of thing because there's no imbalance there. Although it probably shows as imbalance on the 5 second or something as well. Because let me just zoom in. Missing price action kind of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if price actually tapped into that price level there. I'll turn it purple so you can see it. It won't surprise me if price actually tapped into this little section there, which being at the point in which imbalance is filled is the where the entry should have been. Now, missing price action is I'm unsure about it. I still haven't fully made my mind up whether I think it's imbalance or just missing price work. I haven't tested it that like enough to confidently tell you lot that goes it's one way or the other. Like I say, I'm torn on it. But I mean, if we drop down to the 1 second, we can clearly see that this candle here, this red one, is the start of the down push. And then I'm going to really zoom in a minute so we can see any bodies of any other candle. So let me just draw a line. So it goes from there. It's supposed to open. So on the 1 second, you kind of it doesn't happen too much, but obviously when you look at any other time frame, the candle close, sorry, the body close is where the next candle should start. So the price is meant to start here. Let me just move that green box and the line. So yeah, it does do it on this. So this little dash here, that closes, starts here. Now we're on the 1 second time frame, so that candle finishes, and then the next time it opens, it's down here. Yeah. So if I no extend. So from this point here and to that point there, a second happens, and then we've dropped however much that is. I don't even know what that works out on this. 95, 99. 9, not even a penny. It's 9 cents, I guess, if it's in dollars. It's a big movement anyway for a second. We know that much. So that in theory, this is why I don't know about gaps because there's technically a gap there. But if you was, I suppose if that move happened half a second later, the time might have caught that and made it a candle, if that makes sense. So that in my head, I think that should probably be a big red candle, which would mean that the imbalance starts from there, and we're looking at imbalance being filled. But like I say, I haven't tested that enough, and I don't generally use the 1 second anyway too much. I do sometimes to clarify things up, but yeah. So that's probably should have been an entry there. Now I'd have gone off the 5 or 10 second anyway, but I'm just trying to show that obviously you can break stuff real finely down, and yeah, see it wouldn't have caught it on the 1 second anyway. But as you can see, it just about fills that imbalance. That probably should have been an entry because the entry would have been from, I'm just going to delete this orange box. So when it comes to entries, now if I had that low marked, this one here, so because this is a low before the high, so these are the two main points. From the point it closes here, this candle like passes through that low. Now the idea is that, so I'm just going to bar replay it so I can show you it visually. If you was following it and you had a alert on it, you would kind of open the chart at about this point, yeah, because it's closed through the low. Obviously, the price alert would have been set at a level line, so you'd kind of open it about here. If it's your final confirmation, I would then be telling you this price will return or should return from any point from this high to this point here that's level with that line. So I'll just extend that tightly. Price could technically come back and tap anything above the into anything above this. Now we've just obviously gone through that it's tapped in just below this one here, um, which is kind of what we can kind of use to indicate that is obviously lower time frame liquidity. So we've got trend line here that I've marked previously. So one touch, two touch, three touch. Something in this is the cause of the liquidity being taken, meaning that it's highly likely that price was always going to return to from something from say that high from I'll turn the magnet off, it's doing me. Price was likely to return from something like that in there and into so about there, obviously because it's taken at this candle here. I'll zoom in so you can see it. Just delete that one I just put on by accident. Yeah, so if I just extend that slightly, it's just a touch lower. Yeah. So you can see this candle here, it's taken, and anything above it, price can return into it and then tap in, and that's an entry kind of thing. So like I say, you're just looking for an imbalance at that after that candle to be filled, and then your entry becomes at the point where the imbalance is filled. But as I say, I would have been 5 or 10 seconds, so it would have maybe caught it on that. Yeah, so imbalance would have been imbalances here on mine. I still think that's still just short, to be honest. But you know, it's going to happen. A bit closer. 10, 2. Yeah, just shy anyway, regardless. So but I mean, that might actually be an indicator that it's coming back higher still anyway. The fact that it's just short, I'd have been happy with where that placement was as an entry, and with it being just shy or just short of entry, could well mean that it, like I say, it might well be an indication that price is going to come higher eventually. I mean, it's a pip short, so yeah, not I won't even class that as close really these days. So yeah, that this might come higher still, which obviously because I've spoken said that I'm 50-50 on whether it's going higher or lower. Obviously, higher time frame, I still think we're getting another bullish swing. So the flip side of what we've just discussed is that we have also we've tapped into the orange POI to the downside that I mentioned earlier. We've tapped into it, and then we've shown lower time frame breaks to the upside with this here. So obviously we're trending downwards. Here we put in a low, put in a high, put in the over what is now like the current overall low. Then we break the last high that put in that low. Now I this is I'm sure I've looked at this before, and this is a beautiful looking entry, but if I remember rightly, it's on I think it's only visible on the 1 second, so I missed it live because, like I said, I don't generally always check it. Um, but as you can see from this pardon me, balls nearly dropped then. From this high here that puts in the low, this is the you can see there's a direct. I mean, we're on the 2 hour. I'll change it in a minute to see low, but you can see that this candle here is the direct move that leads to that high being taken. So this sort of area would have always been a good area to look for an entry. So this is the buy, and it might still come lower still to tap in summit, or it might come just a bit higher. Um, but what I'll do is I'll just show you this entry here, what it's tapped into. I'm sure it was amazing on like the 1 second, if it's the one. Kind of don't really look like anything on the 10 second here. Although this down push is a good signal. Yeah, it's going to be this week here. So it don't really look like anything on the 5 second either. Then we get to the one. I'm sure it's too big. Yeah, big down push. And again, there's missing price action, but again, it's jumped from that candle there. So it's jumped from there to there in a second. So, like I say, it's just tapped into whatever this is perfectly. Um, so yeah, we've possibly had the move to the upside. So if we look at the structure leading down to this again, sorry, we've had the fit that's the lowest time frame break. We've possibly had another break to the upside. So we'd go from say this low. You can see this blue structure, sorry. So it's already there, which might mean that taking of this high there has caused another pullback before we maybe mitigate something else in kind of this area. I mean, it could have done its job now and it's just going to go up. I don't know. But I'd be very if that I mean that if that is the 15-minute high that's just been taken, like I said, we've got a couple that wouldn't just mean we can draw a orange, but my will draw an orange box from somewhere in there and to somewhere in all this, and then you just wait for a further 1 minute break to the upside. So at the minute, I would say that's around about here is the 1 minute. The lower time frame high you'd want to be broken because I think we've just. I mean, it's not the best anyway, but we've got a bit of a pullback there. I'd say you'd kind of want at least there. Might do something like that. So if we come down into this previous entry, tapping that I just showed you, obviously that's the push away from it. Kind of, it'd be nice to get something in there and then a break to the upside and start the bullish run again. But what we would, like I say, what I would say is you wait for a lower time frame confirmation. So if that's the POI you want to mark, it's a very good reason for a POI. There's a real big push away. Kind of probably make some form of trend line in all of this as well. And there's something there, but that might be justification for the previous entry. Possibly that. There's stuff going on there anyway. Um, but like I say, the important part is that you'd get the favour confirmation to the upside, which would be if it does this, what we've just drawn is obviously it would taking that high there would be the change of character that you was the lower time frame one you'd kind of be looking for. And then you like say you'd be looking for an imbalance to be filled in this price action, and then as it pulls back, hopefully take an entry and goes. So and yeah, with like I say, with these this just being short, this just being short of where I thought it's it is kind of leading me to think we're going a bit higher. But I'm fully aware as well that on the major high time frame. Now this is an absolute mess to look at from with all the old boxes and things like that. But we are very high in the previous higher time frame structure. So we're in this. Obviously, we've hit the top of this weekly leg. So we've got a high here. We've got the overall low here. We've pulled back. I think we're about 95% pullback. So, and like I say, we've had possible 15-minute breaks to show us we're maybe going to start the process of lower. But like we'll get the 4 hour break under this red one. Let me just delete some of this crap so you can actually see it. This red structure obviously is trending upwards. If this low gets taken, this one here, then that's the a major signal to say that we are definitely coming lower and probably take this low down here at some point. Now it's obviously going to take a while, probably a year or two, but this low being taken is, like I say, the a major confirmation that it may be coming, well, it's going to come lower. So if it does, let me just do that first. I'll turn that red, put it very visible, turn it off, start again. So price comes from here and then takes this low here. What price will do is it will come lower and then it'll pull back and then it'll pull back to, and then once it pulls back, let's say if it pulls back to there, I want to see real lower time frame stuff. So 1 minute stuff happen around about here to a signal that we're going to start the next bearish swing. So obviously it will then hopefully do something like that and eventually take the low. Now that would be a huge hold, but it's kind of supported by if it does what I've just said, obviously it's supported by the structure breaks in here. It's in the right place to go from for a new low. Because obviously if it goes too much higher, then we've got to break to the upside and then we are maybe going to pull way back, but then continue higher again. So this is why this is why I use structure massively because it kind of tells us just before it's going to happen and what's going to happen. So I'll come on a different chat because that one's an utter mess with all my previous stuff on. Um, see if I find something a bit cleaner than that I was looking at this week. Is there any questions on that, by the way, guys? I know I'm just talking a lot, but
What's the longest you would normally hold a trade for?
uh, the longest I've done myself has been just over 5 weeks, I think it was.
James?
Um, yeah, I think it was just over 5 weeks. I mean, it was Euro GBP this year, um, and it actually went 44 hour and then turned around and took me out, I think.
Ah, blooming heck.
I think it was this here. Yeah, just shy of my TP. I was looking to. I think this markup here is just short of. I mean, I've deleted stuff now, but
Yeah,
obviously, like my markings for it. Um, I think this entry here is just short of a tap in or something like that. Yeah, it's just short. Don't know if you can see that.
yeah,
So, um, I was trying to sell this into that entry. So if I extended that, that's kind of what I was trying to catch and then catch
yeah,
the buy up because I thought it was going higher up there, obviously where it's gone. Um, but yeah, I mean this is like a pip short of my TP, but I wasn't watching the charts, so like if I'd have seen it about a pip short, I'd have probably just closed it at that point because
yeah,
there was a decent chunk on the table, but yeah, it took me out in the end, just shy of the entry. So what's that in time wise? So it tapped in there. 24 days, so just over, well, sorry, 3 weeks, just over it. But I'm sure I've done one, I have done one for 5 weeks, but it was far less risk than this. So, but yeah, it's 3.5 weeks, that one there, sorry. Um, but the way I kind of look at it is, yes, it's a long time to hold, and you can, I mean, like I say, that one was 3 weeks before it turned around, took me out or whatever. I'm not looking at it and going, I mean, I'm trying to sell this now, so
mhm,
GBP odd. So if this comes back, did a live on Wednesday, and I showed like the entry that I'm going to go from here. So I'm not looking at this and going, if it goes from there, I think is the one, and I'm definitely not using a pip stop loss that size, but about five-ish. Yeah. So if that's the entry thereabouts, um, I'm not looking at that and going, right, I want six. I'm not just picking a random number going, I want 49R. Like I've done enough testing and everything now to know that if I get it right, like I mean, if I take that and I held it to there, it's a fantastic trade. It'll be 35-ish hour, whatever. It'll probably be a bit more because my entry's a little bit tighter than what that actually is, I think. But I know through my testing that and structure wise is we've made a bearish structure here.
mhm,
Yeah. We've had possible signals that we have made the overall high into this move. So that if it comes higher than what this little orange box inside the orange box is I was anticipating that if it takes that high, it's going to take so if it takes that inside box, it's probably going to definitely take the high. And
mhm,
what it's done is tapped into it, and then it's shown signs of possible bearish. So what that's telling me is I'm anticipating this low being taken.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I'm anticipating that being taken. So for me, now I work off rules and testing. Not obviously we try not to work off emotions and feelings and things like that. So
yep,
if my system's telling me that's the most profitable and probable place that we're going to go, that's where I'm going to hold to.
Okay.
So if because if you because I'm big on rules with it. I mean, I don't really follow any rules in life at all other than trading, so it's quite weird to be fair. But I think because I've done so much testing, I know that I've just got to go with what it's telling me rather than make like if I closed up here and I took a quarter of the trade, I'd be more annoyed that I'd closed it early and not followed what I thought was going to happen or what it was kind of telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the time it takes to get there as well is obviously were you asking a minute ago about the longest? It's not about time, it's because if I say that like, my TP's there, like if it takes 3 days or 3 weeks, the only kind of difference that it will be affected is obviously there'll be a few more um swap fees to deal with. Now
Yeah.
the swap fees in comparison to the actual trades you catch are the nothing,
Yeah.
unless like that Euro GBP trade, I was in that like say 3 weeks. It was I think my risk had gone to 5R with swaps. So obviously I risked one, and then by throughout all the swaps for them 3 odd weeks, like the accumulation had gone to a 5 risk. Um, Now if that had hit TP in that time, obviously the risk to reward was I'd set it at 45. Well, if I'd have closed out at say 10 and it did hit TP, like that's a 35R missed,
Yeah.
which like now what I'm showing you and how I trade obviously is like completely next level to anything else you're kind of going to see. So that missing that is big numbers to anybody. So like if you kind of miss one, if we only did one to twos and you had a 1 to 2 on the table and you closed it at a 1 to 1, it kind of not that damaging.
Mm.
But to us, I see that as a huge loss in comparison to what we should be doing, kind of thing. So yeah, me TPs are kind of set up based on structure, mate, rather than anything else. Now,
Yeah.
something could happen in like lower in here, and I'd be kind of going, hang on a minute, what we've possibly like because we've got multiple structure going on. So I think that we're due a new low on this. If it came down to say if we didn't take that low there and we sort of come in there and I started to see uh come from there and like say we trended downwards, we hit that box and then we see a change of character. That would maybe I'd consider maybe closing out then,
Hmm.
because we've had a signal like we've got a structure going on here. We haven't taken the low. Then the option after that would kind of be maybe we're just going to go make a new high then from there, and it does that. So I kind of maybe consider a change in it based on what appears after I've got in. Obviously, I'm in no control of what happens in the market. So if I'm in at this point up here, and I'll keep an eye on what's happening for signals on where I think it's going. Um, but yeah, like everything's kind of telling me I think it's gonna come lower. I think, and yeah, I mean I've obviously marked it for a reason. But I mean, it's not the cleanest of high time frame structures.
Mm.
We've I suppose we've kind of had possible change to the upside. So we start there, you definitely get bullish structures here. So there's a good chance that there's a change there. There, while my dog shuts up.
Can't hear
No,
it.
you couldn't.
No.
Oh. So it's the dog lives in this room, so Uh, so we have a change of character there. There's a possible. So obviously to the left of all that is bearish, bullish, sorry, and then we turn bearish possible here. Now, there's a possible case for that this pullback here, uh, all of this here comes to mitigate the order block that actually causes the change of character to happen. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Where's 15? Red one. So yeah, this possible cause. You see, there's some. I don't know if you see that on your screen. We get a little bit of imbalance probably in here. Now we're on the weekly, so weekly imbalance is probably not the best indication of where it is, but
Hmm.
as you can see, it's we get imbalance anyway, and an order block as such, it gets tapped in, and then we maybe get further confirmations of bearish price action because we get this low taken, possibly this one here. So we get the low there. I don't think I'd count this as a pullback here, so I'd be kind of about here at least. We maybe get that there, pullback. Now, if you counted this one here, it's each to their own. Some would, some wouldn't. It kind of meets the rules, but it's not the best of pullbacks. And then we get a possible break there if it's the higher one. I'll check. Keep these dark so we can see them all. Now, obviously, this is one. If you, I'm going to leave them the same color, but you can see that's one large leg.
Hmm.
Yeah, when we include all these lower time frame structures inside it. So this, I mean, there's three or four possible like lower time frame swings than what this leg is here. So this is the a lower time frame to what this one is. And then obviously after the change of character, price possibly pulls back. Now it possibly taps in a couple of times, but what we would do with that is we would take the highest one if we're trying to look for sells. So yeah, price has tapped in very high into that. You'd kind of say if it goes any higher than that, it's more than likely going to break to the upside and it's turning bearish. But like I say, mitigation, signals of bearish price action come in, we come back, we get a high tap in, and then we've shown lower time frame breaks to the downside. So again, we get sort of bullish swings here. Whether you'd include these or not, it's I'm not gonna cover like the structure again kind of thing because we've covered it a bit tonight. But we get breaks under here or here and here, and definitely here where it's done it into this. So this is probably this low here. I'll come on the daily so you can see it a bit better. So I will draw it actually but I'm not going to draw it further down because it's kind of irrelevant for one. But we get a pull from down here, we pull up, we pull back. So I'm definitely happy that there is a structure because then it gets taken here. So the options from here are if you could drop this technically takes that high and we get a bit of a pullback. So that there might be a structure swing there, but it also might well be straight from there to there. It's just
Hmm.
whether you'd count that or not. So it's one of them two. So this is either a structure break here, which I think I've got marked. Yeah. And I've also got this area marked as well. So we've had now obviously I've gone on a lot about the previous and high time frame stuff. If I draw a line from that low there, I'll turn it purple so it's the same as the drawings. I'll turn it thicker. I believe that's the low there. So we've had a possible break to the downside to signal. Yeah,
Yep.
there. So I'm just going to drop down the time frames again. Now, the orange box I've marked here, yeah, is the top of the leg that causes the break to the downside. So I've highlighted the leg that caused it, the possible couple, like I've included a lot of the leg. Um, I don't know how or why I've marked it exactly there. There'll be imbalance anyway that I've included in my zone and I've covered the high. Um, and obviously I've used lower time frame stuff to go on as well. But yeah, I don't know why I've done it that low. I maybe covered something in this. Maybe wanted to cover that wick high there. There's probably imbalance in that as well. But anyway, as you can kind of see, it's pulled in real high. Yeah. And this is the low or a low that puts in the high. This is the high here. So we've where it's down from, obviously the weekly, daily, the I think one of the structures would have been like a four classes of 4 hour. Now we're right down. Obviously the is the 15 minute that my 15 minute, this orange one that actually causes the that leads to the break to the downside. So and obviously this green's me lower time frame my one. But as we can see, we've basically come real high into the 15-minute point of interest, shown signs of breaking to the downside, and now kind of all I'm waiting for is price to just pull back up. Ideally into this one here. The green one is the entry zone, the purple is the BBR below. So I'm kind of hoping for something like that. Um, but yeah, the obviously, like I say, the reason I've highlighted this orange zone is because it has done something. So obviously, it's a structure high, so I didn't want it to take that high. This is the current low at the minute now, and we've had further signs that we are possibly going to continue lower. Now, the only issue I've kind of got with this setup is kind of this pullback here. So the one I've got marked as the 1 minute low, it's not the best, but it meets the rules. So just about. So I'll just highlight that. So we've got that pullback here. Oh, delete that. Oh, back in here. So yeah, it's just whether you count this as a pullback or not. It's slightly on the weaker side.
Hmm.
Ideally, it would just come and take this low here. So yeah, it's like I said, the structure either this from there to the high, or this is a pullback in the high. Ideally, this would have pulled back a bit like that, and then I'd have been very certain. But
Yeah.
it's not always perfect. So, we've got to take we can only read what's in front of us and make rules up to, like I said, this meets my rules. So my rules are that now we're on the 2 hour and this is my lower time frame 1 minute structure. We've got several red candles in a row. So price is clearly heading in an overall direction. So I'd be very much more comfortable as well if that low would have pulled back just below this high. So one of the rules, one of the theories is when we when we break a higher or lower, whether it's trending or reversing or whatever, the idea is that price is generally something goes on below this level on this side of the price action. This is why I said I'd like it to come below the line, is because then you could say this is the order where this is the place where the banks maybe put the order in to say that we was going to take the high. So they would obviously they'd inject a large amount of money, and then price would go to where they want it to go, kind of thing. And that the direction is what tells us, obviously. So ideally, I'd have liked it to pull below this purple line level to make me really happy that this is the 1 minute pullback or the lower time frame pullback, and then the change of character when it breaks it here. But it obviously, like I say, price isn't perfect, and it just makes it a more risky trade. Now, like I say, if it takes this low, then yeah, I'm game on for all this. Like I'm as confident at that point as I can be. But yeah, but my rules are based on it meets my rules. If I added that it must pull back below, in obviously we're talking bullish structures here. I could add the rule and go, this doesn't count as a pullback unless it pulls below the previous high, and obviously it'd be reverse for the opposite way. So
Yeah.
obviously I'd want it to pull back below a low, the previous low, if it was bearish. So let me see if I can find an example. Um, yeah, I want a clean example though. I don't even know if I'll have a match from. No, no on there. I don't want to move charts either. Um, but yeah, it's the opposite of that anyway. Like I say, if you kind of want it to pull below previous structure point on the direction you're going, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully that kind of makes sense. So yeah, this is this area here is my main issue with this only setup. Um, because obviously if that's not valid, and now obviously I'm just a random guy, who's made some rules about what I kind of accept and don't accept. That doesn't mean that that's how the market actually works. It just obviously it's based on probabilities. My rules are based on probabilities that when it meets my rules, it kind of works more often than not, I guess. So if I'm wrong, price will just rather than obviously going the way I want. If I get it very wrong, price will just come mitigate something down in here, which obviously I've got this orange box marked for whatever reason. If I'm wrong, it'll just do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I'm fine with. It's meeting my rules. If this is the structure point though, then like I say it's told us that it's possibly coming to take this low because then obviously it'll if that's the real change of character, like I say, it'll just hopefully pull back, tag in, and then it'll just continue its bearish lower time frame trend until it hopefully takes the low, you know. So that's so yeah, just that little area there. I know it's not much, but yeah, I'm fully prepared that I'll take a loss and I'm wrong, but yeah, they're
So
not.
are most of the trades that you take after, I mean, I know for entries you're looking down to like 10 seconds, 5
Yeah.
seconds, that kind of area. But in terms of structure, are you mostly taking trades only after the 1 minute break of structure?
Yeah, so as you can sort of see here, so orange is my 15. Now I know we're on the 2 hour, but that's so you guys can see more candles. You can clearly see that we pull back, we drop in price for a while. There's slight zigzags if you zoom in a bit. Yeah,
Hmm.
so that kind of indicates that the smaller zigzags are my lower time frame. Um, with the rules I use, obviously, I'd maybe draw it slightly different, but like the last swing is we get a low put in here, we pull back and we retake the low. So that means the lower time frame is this little zigzag in here, but this is zigzagging all the way down from there. So what I do is I generally use the 15 minute as the direction of the way I want to trade. So, if you was looking from if you if you had a reason to say from previously looking to the left, if you had something in here to highlight that made you want to highlight, maybe there's a major low around about to the left here and something in here takes it and you decide that you wanted to draw, take the magnet off. If you decided you wanted to draw that as a 15-minute point of interest, then the 1 minute, so obviously the 15-minute is overall that direction, because it went on a bit of a rampage for a while.
Hmm.
Fifth, but you would say 15 minutes still bearish because it's bearish from all the way up here. Yeah, so it's just
Yeah.
bearish, you know. And then if we 1 minute change bullish like it does here, so we get a high, put a low in, we change bullish. But then up here, like I say, if you had a reason to highlight this area, like again, that could be the fact that it takes a major high or low, which it looks to these here.
Hmm.
And you get taken by something possibly in here. Price comes back into it. Yeah. Now if we zoom in, now you can start seeing my previous drawings. Now we are on the 2 hour, so like you'll have to use your a little bit of imagination here. So we start getting trends upwards though. Lower time frames, we get a high, pull back low. That's possibly an equal high. Don't take the high. So you kind of go from this low here to this high here. And as you see, we take it here, which means that this pullback here with this imbalance here created, that means that that's the 1 minute's kind of, or the lower time frames at least, possibly told you that we're changing bearish again, if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
now for that to do a 15-minute break to the upside would have needed to break this high here, I'm guessing,
Hmm.
because we get a pullback there, and then that's taken that low there gets taken by all this up here, which is why I've got this one drawn, I'm guessing, because this is possible because of this continuation 15-minute bearish price action. So price needed to do a massive pullback to change direction on the 15 on this.
Hmm.
So as long as you can highlight a reason for a point of interest box, you'd kind of just look for the lower time frame confirmation, which is like say what we got under here as a signal to that we're going to turn around and get in kind of thing. So yeah, 15 minutes for
Okay.
direction because the 15 minutes bearish, so always looking for bearish trades,
Yeah.
sells. Yeah. You're just kind of looking for the 1 minute of my lower time frame green to give that final confirmation. And then obviously, like I say, we'd use imbalance to indicate where that final return price is before it then goes and does its thing. So that I think covered it slightly earlier. Now I said about oh, it might be on this or GU about it coming and taking. I think it's this one. It took the low. So this signal. So at the time, this would have been the significant low on the 15-minute.
Yeah.
We're talking about TPs, weren't we? So because we got the signal in here that the 1 minute was going to turn bearish again and continue the 15-minute. So like the target from say that would have always been below this 15-minute here, which we get
Yeah.
obviously along here. So yeah, it's once you start getting your head around the structure and mapping it out and things like that and understanding it, the so orange is medium, green's lower. The green kind of tells us that the 15-minute pullback on this occasion is due. It's at an end of its road of its pullback kind of thing, and then it goes and continues its new structure, which obviously would be a new low because the structure points become confirmed once the like major highs and lows are taken. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, but that's what I mean by it kind of tells us before it does it. Now, if this is right and that is the low, this is told us it's possibly going to start its new 15-minute low, its
Hmm.
journey to a new low. So if I move that from there to, I know they don't properly line up, but if I just drag them to
Yeah.
the right highs, yeah, the 1 minute's possibly told us that it's going to do this leg now, yeah.
Hmm.
Which I just need it to pull back into
Yeah.
to that because obviously the 1 minute's from there to there. We've possibly done that, if it does to me entry hopefully, and then it'll just continue down. So that's
Yeah.
that.
So
But that's
if that 1 minute structure you've marked is actually a
yes,
low, then it's already broken
yes,
structure, and
yes.
you're waiting for the pullback.
Hmm.
And okay,
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
sale.
exactly that, mate. Like I say, I'm at that stage, but like I say, I'm unsure on this. So
Mm.
I would consider it a slightly more riskier trade than I would like, but
Yeah.
the me risk to reward is far like I'm not asked about losing a couple of trades, even trying to catch this.
Hmm.
Even if my entry, obviously I've got a couple of zones marked, even if it takes me 3 or 4 to catch it, like if I catch it and it makes a new low, like 116R, you know, you like
Yeah.
you like in obviously you'd still be making major money even if you sort of 50 losses. Now I wouldn't advise you take 50 losses trying to catch a trade,
Yeah.
but 2 or 3 is not an issue if you have enough in an account to,
Yeah.
you know. try and catch it. So obviously, if you've got, I don't know, let's just say a round number, you had £1,000 in your account, and we can all be happy risking a tenner a trade. You
Yeah,
know, if you stick a tenner on catch a 1 to 100, what's that, £1,000?
yeah,
You know, you would double your account off a tenner, a week's wage for most people. Off risking tenner, you might lose two, like say, you might lose three trying to catch it, so you lose 30 quid. But if you gain £1,000, the odds
yeah,
are the odds are far in your favor, and it's worth trying to take a couple of attempts at it, as long as you're not over risking. You know, you won't want
yeah.
to you won't want to risk on a prop firm, say 1%, and take three attempts trying to catch it. You know, but
Mm,
that's why I trade like I do. Is like a lot of people want to. Uh, so everybody that's kind of comes over to my side from say elsewhere and you start seeing the stuff going on, like pretty much everybody that messages me going, oh, imagine if you can risk 1 or 2% on that and catch that. And I'm always like, no, 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 I think you should go the other way though. Rather than risking your average 1%, like risk a quarter.
mm,
Because if
yeah,
they come from say somewhere that where they're like risking 1 to 2s, 1 to 3s, 1 to 4s, or whatever, like even if you catch that on a 1/4% risk, like 116, that's 20. Even risking 1/4%, that's 29%
yeah,
gain. So yeah, I'd always advise going the opposite way rather than keeping your risk the same and trying to do it. Because, like I say, if you risk 1/4% and you take 4 attempts, you've only still lost 1%.
yeah.
The upside's far greater. So,
I should have come to you for that advice 2 weeks ago.
well, yeah, that's the thing in it. You'd have, I mean, I don't know what prop firms are these days, but let's say you have a 10% drawdown. Like,
Yeah,
if you if you
it's
if you're only risk 1/4%, you've got 40 chances to catch one good trade
yeah,
rather than 10. You know, and then
yeah.
because if you
That's
risk
good.
one, if you risk 1%, and like obviously, I've never taken 10 losses in a row. It's I know what I'm doing, but like yourself probably could easily take 10 losses in a row if you're fairly new
Yeah,
or inexperienced. I don't really know the word, but like
yeah,
as soon as you get 3 or 4% into drawdown, you're going to start panicking, and the ages are going to take over, and panic setting in. But like say, if you had 40 chances and you took 8 losses, you'd be a bit like, well, I'm not even halfway. Like I've got loads more chances. Everything becomes more relaxed.
yeah,
The- But your gains are still going to be well worth the attempt, kind of thing, and the effort. So something to
yeah.
think about, lads. Anyway.
That's good.
Is there any other questions, guys, before I call it? No? Yes? Great, thanks. Right, I'll call it there, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers for jumping on.
Great. All right, thanks very much, Lee.
All right, boys, if there's any questions, just find my way in the group chat. I'll give us a message as always, and hopefully you have a good week, lads. We all make plenty of money.